Oh,
Oh, that was a boarding house in Claremore
yeah,
that Jimmy had.
yeah. And Uncle Jim built onto the back of it for Mama. You know, Mama was a widow. She didn't, and he built a big dining room and a kitchen and another little room, and then upstairs had bedrooms upstairs. She had a big sleeping porch and then another big room and two little rooms.
Well, no, she was divorced. I mean,
Huh?
she was divorced.
Yeah,
That night.
Dad and her. Dad left. He left us and went to Kansas City to
And
his
this,
folks. And Mama, Uncle Jim taking us kids and kept us in when we was trying to grow up. And then Mama come here and bought a restaurant, but she didn't do any good with it, so she went back to Claremore. And Uncle Jim put her in business.
okay.
So she done all right there. She bought her a nice home, 10 acres of land, and it was a big farmhouse. I know there's a great big long hall, and Howard had the back bedroom, and next bedroom was Mama's, and then a bathroom, and then a front room, and kitchen, dining room, great big kitchen. And Lynn come to spend the holidays with her from college, and he was sitting by a window in the dining room. It was about like it was the 22nd day of December, and he was smoking a cigarette. And Mama woke up in the night and she looked out the window and she thought, well, is it daylight? And the roof was ready to fall in on them, and the house burnt down. And Mama said that Lynn had his cigarette tray sitting on that window, and it must have caught that curtain on fire. So it was through him that she lost everything, you might say. So she had to go back to she had let Frank have the restaurant, my brother. So she had to go back. She owned two little houses down in town, them little houses I showed you.
Mm-hmm.
She had to go down there and live with.
Right there by the boarding house.
She had to go in there and get in one of them, because she didn't have no place else to go. And then she had to take Frank lived in one of them, and then so she taken the other one, and so she had to take the dining room back and start all over again. And then she bought another house, a way out, out towards Veneta, and it was a nice place, and she stayed there.
Now back up toward Veneta?
Huh?
You said back up where?
She,
The other house?
She lived in this other house there. I showed you them old houses. Well, she lived in one then, and then she taken this dining room back that Frank had. So Uncle Jim still had the rooming house then.
Yeah.
But Frank was running the dining room and kitchen, my youngest brother. So Mama, she taken it back and got another start, and she bought this place up there where she died. And it was a nice place. It's a kind of an airplane. Had a big room up high. You know how they make them rooms upstairs, and then she had I forget, I guess she had, let me see, she had two bedrooms downstairs and a big kitchen, I think, and a dining room and a living room. She had a nice place there, a big barn, and they had a cow, so she died there.
And that was where?
Claremont.
They're in town.
Way on out towards, you're going up 66, like it's going on, like towards Kansas City or Bonita.
Yeah.
And then if Mom's house, I can look off from 66 and see the house when we're driving past there. And if I pick it out, so she lived there then, and so then after she died, my stepdad sold it and he lived with Willie mostly. He didn't, I didn't keep him. I didn't want him. I didn't know him nothing. He didn't raise me.
That was John Bryce.
Yeah.
Is that the cowboy that was over there?
I had my own daddy. I helped take care of Dad till he passed on, and I said I wasn't. See, he come back and stayed with us after he got old, and he died in Frisco Hospital. But my daddy wasn't. He worked. He didn't sit around and wait for something. But Mom had to be the pusher with this second husband.
Bryce?
So I said, well, after Mom died, I said, well, I didn't know this man anything. He was all right. He was good to Mama, but I said I guess he was lazy. I don't know what's wrong with him. He didn't know how to make a living. So Mom always had to make a living. There always had to be a eating house. So Willie, I think he stayed with Willie mostly, but I didn't keep him at all. My sister Goldie told me one time, said, you're going to have to keep John part-time. I said, just like heck I am. I'm not going to have him. I kept my daddy and I'm going to have him. Dad was a nice man if he just hadn't a drink. That's what ruined the whole deal, drinking.
I remember that John Bryce. He lived at.
You do?
That's the guy. That's the cowboy that lived back here in the back of Aunt Willie's house, isn't it?
Huh.
John Bryce is the cowboy that lived back there in that little room back in the back of Aunt Willie's house, isn't he?
What's he say?
He said John Bryce, the guy who lived in the back of Aunt Willie's house.
Yeah, I guess so.
Over in Aunt Willie's in Tulsa?
Yeah,
Well, I remember that guy.
cowboy.
I mean, I remember somebody back there, but
Yeah, that's him. I
Yeah,
guess.
and boots. He had the old deal to pull his boots off. I used to go back in there.
so he didn't die until after I was born, because I remember somebody living back in
I
Aunt
remember
Willie's
it
house.
being a
I
little
remember
room
Uncle
back
Bob,
there
he
and
was
him being in. Being
Well,
in
it may have been Uncle Bob.
I guess it says.
What was Uncle Bob doing there? He was down in Bigsby.
Finally, his mind got bad. And one day he got the butcher knife and he was going to do something to Willie with the butcher knife, and Willie sent him up to Bonita.
Say that again?
He went to Bonita.
John Bryce did?
His mind got bad.
Oh.
He got a butcher knife after Willie.
I expect Willie could handle herself, though.
Yeah. He didn't get none after me because I didn't get that close to him.